Ports are some of the easiest games to make, and they tend to sell great too. They're great because they let a whole new demographic get a chance to play a game they might not have been able to play before. With the Switch's great install base growing fast, with no signs of slowing down in sight, it's no wonder Bethesda, Ubisoft, 2K, and others have jumped on the porting train. While it's awesome we're getting at least some games, I want more. There are so many great games I missed out on that I would love to play now, plus the Switch's hybrid nature means it's perfect for ports. Hey guys, it's Thomas from the Switch Stop, and here are 10 of my dream ports I want for the Nintendo Switch. Now with all top 10 lists I make, the opinions of this list are my own. If you disagree, then comment your own list, or just explain why you thought I was wrong. Or you can leave a comment saying how infinitely dumb I am for not including your favorite game, or placing one game higher than the other, and so on. I'll respond to all the comments I get, because, let's be honest, I'm not getting that many, so just leave any thoughts you have in the comments below. Now let's get started. Kirby's Air Ride for the Gamecube is not your typical racer. The racing at its core is simple, but the game shines most in its items, vehicles, tracks, and ways to race. The game was created by Masahiro Sakurai of Smash Bros. Fame, so you can already imagine the creativity and polish put into every pixel of this title. Like Mario Kart, the emphasis is put on the items and tracks rather than the core mechanics. The racing also has a top-down mode, but that is boring and too slow in my opinion. That's okay though, as the core racing is good enough to make up for the top-down mode's shortcomings. However, I haven't even mentioned the best mode of them all, and that is City Trial. In this fantastic mode, you and a friend or three are dropped into a GTA-style open-world city with nothing but a bunch of items scattered about and a predetermined timer. Then you all rush around to find the best power-ups and deck out your air rides and stats and abilities. Do you work together to try and all gear up, or do you sabotage your friend and ruin their plans? You get to decide. At the end of the predetermined timer, you and your friends are dropped into a final challenge of some sort, like a boss battle. There you get to use your fully decked out air rides to defeat the challenge and win the mode. The game's multiplayer focus and simplistic controls fully lend themselves to single Joy-Con play. This would be a fantastic opportunity for Nintendo to reinforce the Switch's core message of being able to play with whoever you want, wherever you want. Love them or hate them, the Call of Duty franchise has been one of the most successful game series in the past decade. While I have never personally experienced any of Activision's annual chart toppers, I know that they have a dedicated fan base and a huge one at that. I bet that, given the opportunity, a potential Switch port of, say, Black Ops 2 or 3 would surely sell gangbusters off of purely the Call of Duty title alone. That's all I really have to say about this one. I wouldn't personally buy it, but hey, if it increases the popularity of the Switch, I'm all for it. Another game from Smash Bros. Creator Masahiro Sakurai, Kid Icarus Uprising was a flawed masterpiece. When Sakurai was asked to make a 3DS title, he immediately thought of Kid Icarus and got to work. However, as he got more ambitious, it became more apparent that the 3DS was going to limit this game from unlocking its true potential. The main limitations were that the screen was too crowded and the controls were abhorrent. You see, Uprising used the 3DS's touchscreen for the camera and aiming controls. Many gamers found the control scheme uncomfortable at the least, and at its worst, unplayable. This is a game that would benefit so much from a dual-stick setup, just like what the Switch has. The screen crowding issue is fixed too due to the dock and the larger display of the tablet. When porting a 3DS game over to the Switch, two things must be sacrificed: the 3D effect and the touchscreen. While Uprising's excellent 3D effects would be missed on a possible Switch port, the touchscreen was only used for camera controls, menus, and the occasional power-up. These could all easily be remapped to buttons. Now that we have gotten controls out of the way, let's talk gameplay. Kid Icarus Uprising is phenomenal. There's no other way to describe it. The fast-paced action is paired with new weapons and power-ups and more unlockables than you can count. The campaign includes a difficulty scale exactly like the one in Smash 4, which lends itself to many playthroughs. Couple that incredible campaign with equally addicting multiplayer, great graphics, an outstanding score, and pretty funny dialogue, and you have a game that could be perfect on the Nintendo Switch. Originally released in 2006, New Super Mario Bros. For the DS was nearly universally praised as the perfect return to form, as Mario jumped back into 2D platforming. Now over a decade later, there have been 3 more additions to this popular series. While the new moniker is no longer true, the games continue to showcase great level design and fun Nintendo charm. There's the original one, the chaotic multiplayer one, the coin one, and the squirrel one. Some people have criticized this series for not doing much to innovate the genre, and I don't think that's a fair complaint. We were kinda spoiled with the masterpieces that were Mario 3 and Super Mario World, because they changed the genre while still being accessible. I will be the first one to admit that these games don't do that. However, I will also be the first one to admit that these games are still a blast to play, and they would be awesome as a package deal for the Switch. All we need is a Joy-Con with a D-pad, and this could entertain countless friends for hours upon hours. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword was an incredible game. It took everything we knew about Zelda and combined it while still adding many new and creative elements into the mix. I know what you're thinking, Breath of the Wild is already on the Switch, why would we need this? While Breath of the Wild is a phenomenal masterpiece and should be included in any best games of all time list, it's not really a Zelda game. Now don't get me wrong, the game feels like a Zelda game due to its story, characters, and atmosphere, but the gameplay isn't really Zelda-like. Skyward Sword is way more linear and traditional than the open world of Breath of the Wild, so a Skyward Sword port would definitely fill the gap. This game would be such an easy port because the buttons would be so easily remapped onto the Switch's Joy-Cons. The Joy-Cons even have motion sensing, so this works perfectly. The game is such a classic, and it really is one of the best titles on the Wii. Speaking of which, Retro Games Studio reboot of the classic Donkey Kong Country series was like the Mario Galaxy of 2D platforming. It was incredibly fun and creative with great graphics, music, and an all-around inventiveness. Just like Mario Galaxy, it was released to a critical acclaim, and because of its success, there were talks of a sequel. Finally, when Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze was released for the Wii U, it was an instant classic. Just like Super Mario Galaxy 2, it revised the gameplay and polished it even more than it was before. This was literally the perfect sequel, except it was on the Wii U. As we all know, the Wii U sold quite poorly, so even though this masterpiece was on it, barely anyone bought it. From a financial point, Wii U, and therefore Tropical Freeze, were failures. Fast forward to the Switch. Obviously the Switch will have more players than the Wii U, so why not bring these two games over and let people experience one or both of them for the first time? Besides Shovel Knight, Sonic Mania, and a couple of other indie titles, the Switch has no platformers, which is kinda odd considering that the genre is kinda synonymous with Nintendo. Why not bring over two of the best platformers of the decade in order to broaden the Switch's catalog? Well, we're about halfway through the list and we're approaching 9.5 minutes on this video, so I say we should probably cut it into a two-parter. Links to the second part will be in the description, annotations on the screen right now, cards in the top right corner, literally wherever I can put it. It'll also probably be the autoplay suggested video because that's how YouTube operates. If you want to go watch that, then I'll see you there. If not, sorry, bye.